Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have quite a bit of things to go and talk about in regards to the PlayStation 4, and actually on the fact that the PlayStation 4 version is actually coming out not as good as comparison, obviously, the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Now, I just want to go and reiterate that it is obvious it's kind of on the more outdated tech, and also, it's an older console regardless. And of course, obviously, you want to be diving into the PlayStation 5 version as fast as you can, but it's actually going to get a little bit more on the controversial side because there's actually a lot more elements that have been removed. And while it does still look very, very good, don't get me wrong, I'm going to probably give you guys the in-depth showcase both on video and video review, and also from screenshot and thumbnail kind of comparisons between the PS4, PS4 Pro, and PlayStation 5, just in case you just want to go and see everything before you guys actually go and decide to go buy the game itself. Now, I do want to reiterate, though, first and foremost, the game still does look phenomenal, although this is kind of something I would personally want to know about if I was trying to get a PS4 version versus the PS5 version, if I want to wait a few extra months, wait until I get my PlayStation 5, and all of that. But at least in the very baseline, the game still does look and run phenomenal, both on previous gen and also future gen, but it's always kind of nice to know fully what you guys are getting yourselves on into before you dive on it. And also, I just want to give you guys a quick review too as well. Most of the reviews so far for the early access on Forbidden West have actually been very, very good. A lot of 9 out of 10s and even a few 5 out of 5s, 10 out of 10s, but I always kind of feel like most video games are not a usual 10 out of 10. As long as you guys know, the initial reviews in terms of pretty much everything have been phenomenal. Very on point, very, very high, and the game itself is looking and feeling very, very good. So let's go and dive into the actual news, the comparisons, a lot of other little nifty features, videos, and all of that. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new. As well, make sure you guys are subscribed for the PS5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 disc, digital console controller, Samsung SSDs down below, still currently up on sale, Twitter and Twitch stream on top of that, and of course, sign up for that Weeble Coinbase, and let's go and dive into the video itself. So, first and foremost, I do want to let you guys know we've actually had some pretty in-depth reviewers when it comes to the game and gameplay showcases up here as well. First, we have the Alnesto, and I've also seen Digital Foundry, who have kind of gone a little bit more on the deeper end when it comes to big comparisons. So I'm going to touch on this very quickly, and then I'm also going to dive into some other things too as well. So first and foremost, you guys can actually see quite a little bit in the comparison over here. We have the PS4 version over here. I'm going to go maybe move my webcam on the very, very top on top of this. You guys can basically go and see right here, it's probably I highlighted of the most currently kind of best things to kind of compare what you guys are getting on each previous console. So a little bit of a quick, like, more, I guess more of a pause down for you guys. We have been getting very consistent FPS, but the one big thing for the PS4, so it's on the PS4 by itself flat, which still does look and seems amazing, but I really want you guys to go and put on more of a fine tune and say the hair and other various products too as well. Look at the foliage and look at the internal textures when it comes to everything mixed on in. Next part would be up on, compare this to say the PS4 Pro, which once again, kind of look at all these big various features and kind of seeing the in-depthness and how much more the world is, I guess, evolved and kind of showcased. But I think the biggest jump over here will be definitely on the PS4 Pro to PS5 version mixed on in. Where I'm trying my best to kind of give you guys like a little bit of a quick middle ground over here, where if you guys compare this with the previous sections on this, you could just see on how much more full, how much more just, I guess, developed, and how much more in-depth the entire world is, especially in comparison. It may be kind of hard to go and see in the middle between all these, but you can kind of see the between the leaves, just even look at this little line right here, the foliage is way more on the different scale. Basically, kind of just shows that the PS5 world is more defined, more kind of, in flow, I guess. And don't forget, there is 2 various different options for the FPS modes and other various times. So as you guys can kind of see from this really quick run through over here, you guys can see the in-depthness and the characterness as well for the character overall. A lot more details, a lot more size, a lot more also, I guess apparently height too as well mixed on in. There's also a lot of other various features too, besides, just pure graphics and reflections, but there's a lot more obviously put more into the PS5 version. You guys can definitely go and see this and how just alive the world is in terms of what they can have and how they can have it basically optimized in terms of overall world textures. Think like look around the tree, you guys can see the particles and the effects. Look around the actual water itself, as you guys can see other reflections down below, which is just the FPS mode in case you guys are curious. So it just is a lot more details, a lot more of a higher percentage of details, and just the overall world itself, lighting, RTX, and everything else is just huge in comparison. One also kind of really big difference too in the comparison between the PS4 and PS5 is the draw distance and the overall, as you guys can see up in the background. There's been a lot more kind of smaller things tied on in when it comes to animals, when it comes to characters, and I think even one thing you guys can see right there is that sometimes the people walking were disappearing, which could always be kind of a big issue when it comes to draw distance and seeing future mobs as well. So obviously it's kind of a big duh. The PS4 version itself will be a lot more on the smaller end, less resolutions, less graphics, like less textures, etc., and obviously a lower frame rate, which is totally fine. But if you guys compare all these little small details, it does make the PS5 version seem so much more in depth and so much more involved. Now, as we kind of have this video to go and showcase up, which is probably some of the best, you can see just how clear the PS5 version it is in general. But the one kind of nice thing is also seeing something like this with the actual thumbnails mixed on in. We can basically go and see the same exact feature and same exact tree. This is all over here from Eurogamer and Digital Foundry's pretty much comparison list. So as you guys kind of maybe look into say the PS5, you can see the foliage is more so growing, more in depth. It kind of slowly crates out through the tree itself. Everything out here is just so much more detail. A very good example is also comparison for the wood. You can see how these are just kind of blank normal textures to more so save up for loading and everything else. But as well, if you look at the PS5 version, since due to the better SSD, graphics cards, etc., you can see a lot more individual lines, moss itself growing, and you can just kind of see like a huge just improvement in overall textures. Even looking in the background and also shadows in the world shadow development to you as well. But we have a lot of other various features too if you want to say look at the overall, maybe more like the actual mobs themselves. So if you look at this, look at the PS4. Well, you guys can actually go and see what the mob itself looks like. It looks nice, it seems good, don't get me wrong. But if you also look at the PS4 Pro, the lighting, the distinction of the colors and everything else flow on in. Here's to the PS5, also the best examples look in the actual ground and trees. You guys can see so much more in the middle, and basically just kind of makes the world seem more alive, and every little character being a little bit more on the distinctive side. So this is kind of the big end-all be-alls that if you guys care about the PS4 version, being a little bit more on the blurrier side in terms of textures, overall environment, and reflection, you may be a little bit more on the sadder side, but I will say it still does look very good, just in comparison on this. You guys can also look at maybe in the textures itself from the actual, basically like jacket. We can see the individual strands and everything tied on in, which is very nice and very good to see. Very good. Very good. It kind of just depends on if you like your preferences or how much you care about in the first place. And overall, I think maybe like looking at a plant is always a good example. Where you have the PS4 version, looks blurry, looks kind of fake, looks unrealistic. PS4 Pro version, which looks a lot more on the cleaner side, and then PlayStation 5, it just kind of looks like a more natural, proper object. It's just nice to look at. It's just nice to go and see. Some kind of cool other things that also make a kind of big note too as well is just kind of looking in the overall environment where the actual vegetation itself will actually go and note you and look at you and see all the movements between everything, which is usually kind of big. Similar too as well with the wind and water effects, fire effects, and the other like little various little particle effects, where this will just way more in depth and way more reflective when it comes to the PlayStation 5 itself. Kind of same thing too when it comes out to being like in a desert. You can see the in-depthness of the overall particles and how in-depth everything is in regards to how the world kind of is. With huge general lighting updates and everything else, like everything just seems like the next level on the PS5. Although once again, although the PS4 does look very nice, as you guys can even see in these examples, it's not the most beautiful looking game. Like it kind of depends. Like you even just kind of see the overall resolution on this versus this. This looks like it's more real life. This looks like it's in a nice little mid-tier. It looks very on the blurry side. So it's all around kind of like it's just big things to know. Now, some people aren't necessarily that upset about it. I myself would not be that upset. Well, especially if you guys want to have just the major comparison, looking through the hair and like the particles through the hair itself and reflections, light reflections and everything, it just looks so much more natural and so much nicer, especially if you can combine that with the ground itself too mixed on in. And the very last picture for combinations too, looking through the actual characters themselves, even for this, just look at this. Like look at the resolution itself for the PS4 version and everything else. It just looks so much more cleaner, so much more nicer with an even more in-depth environment. Or even for these two pictures on the PS4, you literally can't even see the foliage on the mount itself when you compare that to the PS5 version. Basically, you can go and see on just how more in-depth the entire world is with higher render distance and everything else mixed on in. So as you guys can probably go and tell just from all this stuff, it's a big combination of a lot of and various details. Now, the PS4 version is still a good version, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to SSD loading times, when it comes to everything else, you can see in just how fast just the PS5 already popped up. I'm on the PS5 section, first for the PS4 and PS4 itself. PS4 Pro and PS4 itself. So it's just huge differences. So this is almost one of those games that I almost implore you guys to want to get on the PS5 instead. Obviously, it's going to have better graphics, better lighting, better shading, better loading times, better just overall experience, and just basically graphical feel and everything. It's kind of a big duh, but you really want to be waiting 33 seconds for a game just to go and load, and also just look at the big, vast difference in all three of the characters as you're moving through. It literally looks like you're playing almost a slightly different game as well when it comes to the PS5 version. Now, I do want to go reiterate once again, this is running on very old hardware, which makes a lot of sense. Like, I'd 100% totally get that. 1 zillion percent go and get that. But at the same time, too, I want you guys to always know fully what you guys are getting into before you buy it. Now, I still want to reiterate too as well, you can still get a PS4 version and free upgrade, so it's basically no harm, no foul if you do buy the PS4 version, but just in case you guys are just maybe waiting off for the PS5 version itself, I just want to have a little bit more of an in-depth review when it comes to both of them in general. So overall, just it does kind of seem like obviously you want to play it on the PS5. PS4 version is holding up well on old hardware, but it's definitely not holding up as well as most people were expecting. And while it is still nice, it definitely has a huge hiccup, and they basically had to do a lot more improvements on the PS5 version, which kind of left the PS4 version kind of in the dust. But at the end of the day, that's kind of okay. As I mentioned, you do have the free PS4 to PS5 upgrade, so as long as you be able to go utilize it and kind of rocking it out, you guys totally can. So just giving you guys all the loot for this one, kind of give you guys for my first initial impressions. Reviews have been looking great, everything else has been looking fantastic, and overall, kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below if you guys are going to be picking up the game. As well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 digital console controller with the Samsung SSDs down below. Let me know if you guys will be picking up Horizon these upcoming next few days. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream, the Weeble and Coinbase all down below, and I can't wait to play this beautiful, beautiful game, but I just want to make sure you guys all knew all the information on it. Love you guys.